Hello, Brook Hill. As you can see, it's me again, Dr. Gardner, Gary Gardner, and I've got with me the Graves. And the Graves have been at Brook Hill for a long time. Both their kids recently graduated, but they're still part of the school, and they are involved, even though their kids have gone on. And they were with us in 2020 when we went to Israel on the last Brook Hill trip. That was just as COVID was about to get started. And we were wondering, are we going to get to go because of COVID? We went, and we don't regret it. Israel actually shut down the next day. We left one day, the next day it was shut down. So we got home, and no one had COVID, and all that worked out really well. But I wanted to bring them on because we're talking about a trip for individuals and for family. And then when they went as a family. They had both their sons with them. I believe one was a junior or senior. Anyway, late high school, and one was like beginning of high school, late junior
Correct,
school. So
yeah.
it was a great trip, and they had a good experience. We didn't have as many kids as I like, although the kids really bonded. This sounds terrible, but they would go down to the little gaming area, like with just tables and stuff, and they would play spades and stuff until we made them go to the room and go to bed after the touring and stuff. But they just got connected, and it was fun because some of them were super into athletics, some of them were super into academics, and everything in between. But on that trip, they were best friends. And it carried over afterwards, too.
That is true.
Well, I'm going to kind of turn it over to them and see if they've got some comments. We've talked about, this being a family trip, or what was some spiritual things, and then the physical side of it, the food and accommodations, what those were like, or the Sea of Galilee. And then I got a couple of closing questions if they don't cover anything. So what do you guys want to say?
It was a great trip. People say a trip of a lifetime. That's put out there a lot, but it really was. We had a great time. We went as a family. A lot of these tours to Israel and elsewhere, sometimes it's retired people taking a big tour bus, but if you could take your kids to the Holy Land, wow, what a great gift you could give to them. They have their whole future ahead of them, and what a great way to get into the Bible, the Word, and what God has done, and be where these stories took place in the Bible. It was incredible.
Because you had actually been before. It was my first trip, and of course our boys' first trip.
Yeah, I'd been there, I guess, 25 years earlier, but this trip was extremely memorable because the family was there, and the Brook Hill family was there. There's a lot of bonding, a lot of fun, and if you're going with Gary Gardner, it's going to be fun. I'm telling you right now.
That one cost me $20, so.
And I think, I kind of had to be persuaded to go. Because I don't think that it was, on my bucket list or anything. But I'm so glad that we went. And I think if you can go with, I think the whole point was to take our boys there. It made the Bible and those sites come alive to them, and why wouldn't you want to do that as early as possible? And the point that we got to experience together, and it was so fun watching them because they truly were really excited to be there and to touch the walls, that maybe Jesus had touched, or walk on the steps, and I saw a lot of wonder that was in their eyes. And our boys chose to be baptized there. They had never been baptized before, and they got to be baptized right there in the Jordan River at the exact spot where Jesus was. So that was just very surreal, and something that we will always remember.
And that's one of the things that with Israel is there's spots that we think it was, or it's in this area, we know it happened. And then there's a few things that we know this is the exact spot. And so there's a couple of different places on the Jordan River where people like to immerse. And it's a consensus among all academia that the spot we went to is the place where he was immersed because of the details given in the New Testament. It's the other spot is nicer, and it has real value also. But this group, we kind of talked about it, and they wanted to go to this spot, even though it's a little bit of a drive. And I agree with Stacy; it was totally worth it, and very meaningful.
Yeah, And on a personal note, Gary, we're just so thankful to you. You met with each boy individually in the months ahead of time about their baptism, and so it was just a culmination there in the Jordan River, the very cold Jordan River. But it was a lot of fun. And what, other than the boys getting baptized there, what stands out to my mind was seeing across the Jordan River to the country of Jordan, Muslim country, and there's a Christian church.
Yeah.
On both sides, on the Israeli side and the Jordan side, a church, just exemplifying that his church is everywhere. He has followers in all parts of the world, and that was amazing. And seeing other tourists from other parts of the world speaking languages I had no idea where they were from. People from all over the globe go to the Holy Land. It was awesome.
On one of our trips, we had a young lady who was Korean, but she was from Jamaica. And one of our hotels, there was a touring group from Korea there, and they tried to put her on their bus. They said, "Okay, come on, you're supposed to be on this bus." And they're being gracious, like, "I'm from Jamaica. I'm here with Brook Hill. Thank you." That was the first one we did in 2018 with Brook Hill. So good times. Anything else kind of jump out at you guys, or?
You know, the Bible came to life. People might say that, but it really did. I kept my Bible open the whole trip. Every place we went, you could go to a Bible reference and look at the big picture. Wow. You know, we read all these stories in the Bible, but if you can visit the Holy Land and get a little better glimpse of the big picture, that's really helpful. But God always speaks, right? We know that God always speaks, but there's something about being in the Holy Land that if we listen, I think we get a better perspective of what God's doing.
And this trip will be, the school is not a denominational school. There's, probably a bigger percentage are from one side of the faith than the other, but it's going to be a trip that's meaningful whether you're Catholic or Baptist or Churches of Christ or Assemblies of God. And for example, when we talked about their boys being baptized, they said baptized, I said immersed, because for some of you, baptized is a ritual that needs to be done by your ministerial leader, and that's great. But the physical step is being immersed in the water. So even if that's you, to go there and be in the spot where Jesus was immersed in that water is pretty powerful too. One of the things that spoke to me from my first trip on is the dungeon. So you know how we have the White House, that's where the president lives. This is one of these spots, we know this is the dungeon Jesus was in, because when they were excavating it, they found a sign that said the high priest house. So apparently in the first century, the high priest was kind of like the president, moves into the White House even though he has another home, and he would move and live in that home. And underneath it was this dungeon with these big pits. It's not like on the pirate movies with the gates, doors that open and everything. It's a hole. They throw you in there, and by the way, there's not a bathroom. So it was probably pretty foul. And there's one big one in particular, and there was a spot where some prisoner at some point had leaned against the wall. This is limestone that absorbs things. And it looked almost like a cross, and you can just picture somebody who'd been beaten, trying to cool their back and their arms against that limestone. And maybe that was our Lord,
Mm-hmm.
So that's another one of those, that's the spot. And so I want to emphasize that there'll also be some things in another video. I'll talk about a couple of key things we're not planning to do, but maybe we can do as individuals in the evenings. But because I don't want to overpromise. I want to make sure everybody's managing expectations, because you can't do everything. But this is a trip that will not intentionally be one denomination only. It's going to be about, do you know Jesus? That's the core. So when I go to my congregation and they go to theirs, the things we do are effective because we're in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
They're not effective without that relationship. And that's what we want to stress with this trip. Last thought before I go to my closing questions?
It was fun. It was a fun trip. Even though we talked about, you can increase your faith in Christ and read the Bible, it was also just lots of fun. And the kids had a great time. seeing them together and seeing them playing games in the evening, it was great. It's just great to see young people strengthen their faith and to be there. It's really a treat. If you can give your kids the gift of a trip to the Holy Land, that's very special.
I agree.
Great. Well, the last thing I wanted to kind of cover on here was, in our world, Americans, we're so busy, and that's why we have so many nice things. I mean, I'm a violin teacher, and I have a nice home, and I drive a vehicle I like. My wife, we're blessed, but we get that because we work a lot. And when we play a lot. And we play hard, and then we go and work some more. So how do you guys see this, like the cost versus the value? And that includes the time away from work, because a lot of our patrons run their own businesses. And then how does this compare to like a Disney trip? And that sounds like I'm making fun, because Disney's not spiritual at all, it's just about fun. But like Glenn just said, it was a fun trip, and you need fun stuff. But we also need meaningful things. So how would you compare those two? Is it worth, not worth? Where would you land on the value and all of that?
Okay, you speak to the work because you never take time off.
It needs to be something important to take time off, and I love going on the trip to the Holy Land. It was awesome because it's more than just scenery and seeing new things and seeing historical artifacts. It's a chance to see what's in the Bible and how it applies to my life, and it's things that you can carry with you. It had a big impact on our family from a spiritual standpoint, and I'm sure you can get that with Mickey Mouse, but I think this is a good use of resources in the big picture. If you think about how much money we spend on useless stuff and we added it together, it'd be a lot of money. So I just see this as a really good investment for your family and for your walk with Christ.
I mean, I don't think there's any comparison to Disney. I mean, Disney is completely, and we've been to Disney, and our boys really enjoyed the whole Star Wars, everything about that. But that's all man-made. It's all like fiction, if you will. This is truth. This is God's creation. I mean, it's based on truth.
Agreed. Well, that's what we wanted to share with you and kind of prime the pumps, get you excited. Please share this video with anybody who doesn't get it. Right now it's going out to you guys who expressed the interest. We'll try to get it blasted out to everybody. But be praying about it and thinking about it. And if you decide you want to go, trust the Lord that He'll make a way. Because in my experience, I've had multiple people go on trips with me that said they couldn't do it. And then they turn around and they were on the trip because something happened or someone came into their life or whatever. It just happened. So if you have any other questions or anything, feel free to email me at Brook Hill. You can find me on the website, and I'll be glad to answer your emails, or I'll give you a number and you can call and we can talk personally. But we're excited about it. I think God's going to do some big stuff for us. It's going to be a great trip.